Life can be stranger than fiction. It is often said how fiction has a way of predicting the future. The prediction of sociological shifts usually come from scholars who study sociological aspects of humanity. However, once in a while, the fictional plot from a novel will become our reality. Is the fictional book The Handmaid's Tale warning us of a conservative agenda that could strip us of our rights and dismantle the last 200 years of social progress? When Trump says, "Let's make America great again," is the world he envisions the Deep South mixed with the fictional nation of Gilead from The Handmaid's Tale? Project 2025 may be preparing our conservative leaders for that very thing.
Welcome back to our channel. I'm Haas.
I'm Cece.
Today we got a hot topic for you.
Firstly, let's explain Project 2025. It's a 922-page document, and it was authored by the Heritage Foundation. There are four main objectives outlined, of which they call pillars. The first pillar is a policy guide for the next presidential administration, which provides and outlines detailed policy changes for dozens of governmental and social agencies. The second pillar is a database of personnel. The Heritage Foundation has already contracted the technology company Oracle to build this database, kind of like a conservative networking platform. Once these new personnel are fully vetted, they can move on to Pillar 3, an online presidential administration academy that would train future bureaucrats in conservative values and governing. The fourth pillar is a 180-day presidential playbook that outlines the process and procedures as set forth by the Project 2025 for the president during his first 180 days in office. The Heritage Foundation states that its intentions are to restore the family as the centerpiece of American life, dismantle the administrative state, defend the nation's sovereignty and borders, and secure God-given individual rights to live freely. In a way, this doesn't sound all that bad. However, once you pull back the proverbial curtain, the real reason behind this document becomes abundantly clear. Under Project 2025, pornography will be banned, and tech and telecom companies that allow access to these will be shut down. Additionally, all laws and federal regulations surrounding sexual orientation, gender equality, abortion, and reproductive rights will be dismantled. Coverage of emergency contraception under the Affordable Care Act would end, and the Comstock Act would be used to prosecute those who send and receive contraceptives and abortion pills nationwide.
The Comstock Act. You may be wondering, what is the Comstock Act? As late as 1960, the United States legal system was inhospitable to the idea of contraception or birth control. 30 states had statutes on the books prohibiting or restricting the sale and advertisement of contraception. These laws stretched back almost a century, reflecting an underlying American belief that contraception was lewd, immoral, and promoted promiscuity. These laws dated back to a man named Anthony Comstock. Anthony Comstock was born in Louisville, Connecticut in 1844. Comstock served in the infantry during the Civil War, then moved to New York City and found work as a salesman. A devout Christian, he was appalled by what he saw in the city streets. It seemed to him that the town was teeming with prostitutes and pornography. In the late 1860s, Comstock began supplying the police with information for raids on sex trade merchants and came to prominence with this anti-obscenity crusade. Also offended by explicit advertisements for birth control devices, He soon identified the contraceptive industry as one of his targets. Comstock was certain that the availability of contraceptives alone promoted lust and lewdness. In 1872, Comstock set off for Washington, D.C. with an anti-obscenity bill, including a ban on contraceptives that he had drafted himself. On March 3, 1873, Congress passed a new law, the Comstock Act. The statute defined contraceptives as obscene, illicit, and making it a federal offense to disseminate birth control through the mail or across state lines. Additionally, Project 2025 enacts strict regulations surrounding who can receive IVF treatments. Could this be the beginning of the practice of eugenics? School choice and parental control over schools would end. Diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in schools and government departments would be disassembled in order to censor woke ideology.
The Department of Education programs would be either transferred to other agencies or terminated, which includes the elimination of African American and gender studies at all levels. There will be an outright ban on all books and curriculum about the history of slavery and racial inequalities. Project 2025 will essentially eliminate union and worker protections. It also will take partisan control over the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Department of Commerce, the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, and the Federal Trade Commission. Plus, it will dismantle Homeland Security. The president already has control over these departments already, or at least high influence. Isn't that correct?
Correct. The president is responsible for the execution and enforcement of the laws created by Congress, and there are 15 executive departments, each led by an appointed member of the president's cabinet to carry out the day-to-day administration of the federal government. They are joined in this by other executive agencies such as the DOJ, FBI, and CIA, which are not part of the cabinet but are under the authority of the president.
So in a nutshell, the president is responsible for implementing and enforcing the laws written by Congress, and to that end, appoints the heads of the federal agencies, including the cabinet.
Yep. However, under the Project 2025, agencies such as the Department of Justice will be under the complete control of the president, and the FBI will be transformed into a political task force that is accountable only to the president.
So essentially, this would give the president enormous, untested powers to do whatever he wants. And the power of Congress or agency heads to check those powers will be either greatly reduced or eliminated altogether.
Environmental and climate change regulations will be changed to favor fossil fuel production. The project also recommends the immediate arrest, detention, and deportation of illegal immigrants living in the U.S. Furthermore, it proposes deploying the military for domestic law enforcement, capital punishment would be carried out expeditiously. You know, this really sounds like the Sovereign of Gilead in the novel The Handmaid's Tale.
Okay.
The Handmaid's Tale is a 1985 novel written by Margaret Atwood. It is a futuristic dystopian novel set in the near future New England in a patriarchal, totalitarian state known as the Republic of Gilead, which has basically overthrown the United States government. I first read this novel for my women's studies course in the 1990s. However, like everything else these days, it has been turned into a Hulu series. Yep.
So tell us how this fictional Gilead resembles Project 2025.
Well, the first thing is it's based on a theocratic government.
So what is theocratic again?
Theocratic just simply means that it's based on a deity or a particular religion. And this brings to mind the first parallel with Project 2025. Project 2025 is based on Christian nationalism, you know.
That's a slippery slope. When you combine religion with the word nationalism, nationalism tends to make people into zealots and extremists that interpret religious doctrine to govern people who don't necessarily adhere to the same beliefs. And the last thing we want in the land of the free is to have extreme religious rules governing everyone. I think I got you.
The second parallel in the Handmaid's Tale is that Gilead abolished America's federal system of government and states and became a unitary republic with a centralized government. And as we just mentioned, a unitary government is a political structure with a single level of authority where the central government holds most or all the governing power.
I hope we're doing a good job of bringing some illumination to the parallels of Handmaid's Gilead to Project 2025.
And as stated before, Project 2025 wants partisan control of federal agencies as well as to enact a unitary executive theory.
Exactly. And unitary executive theory is based largely on Section 1, Article 2 of the Constitution of the United States, which outlines the executive power of the president. But the theory holds that Congress cannot limit the president's control of the executive branch because the Constitution sets up a hierarchy system whereby the president has the most power. So effectively, checks and balances of the presidential power becomes obsolete.
The biggest parallel between Gilead and Project 2025 is that Gilead is a patriarchal society where only men have access to higher education. Women are not allowed to have titles or deeds to property in their name, and they cannot have a career unless said career is specifically assigned to them by the Gilead leadership. Men are also the only ones eligible to hold political office, and women are basically regarded as second-class citizens, as they must submit to the authority of not only their husbands, but of all men. All females are forbidden to read or write.
Well, Project 2025 doesn't necessarily say women will lose all of those rights, but the combination of restricting women's rights to reproductive decisions combined with Christian nationalism rhetoric, the government could easily enact laws that restrict these rights if Project 2025 governed the lands. It's often what they are not saying that you have to worry about.
Oh, you're right about that. Also, I would like to point out that in Gilead, civil rights such as freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly, which are all fundamentals of our Constitution, are abolished. And likewise, Project 2025 dismantles many of the civil liberties, especially for civil liberties for citizens, all citizens, but also especially for minorities. And of course, anytime books start being banned, it becomes very easy to unravel democracy.
Wow. Well, Project 2025 is the most dangerous endeavor in the history of American politics. It has the potential to reshape daily life for millions of Americans.
Yeah, and it will eventually kill democracy. It's a scary thought. And if we're not careful, we may find ourselves living in a land just like Gilead. But hey, folks, you don't have to take our word for it. You can read all 922 pages on Project 2025 website, which we do encourage you to do so that you can not only know, but also understand why we must get out to the polls.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can be informed when we upload a new video. Also, drop us a comment in the comments below so you can tell us your thoughts on Project 2025. Until next time, be sure to take care of yourself and each other. Peace.